Hey everyone, today I'm doing something a little bit different and I'm talking about 3 good dice games. So spoiler alert, I do like each of these games and I want to tell you why I like them. But before I get started on the games, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer when it comes to buying games here in the UK. And if you use my link in the show notes or that QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. Okay, so let's start with High Score, which is by far the lightest out of the 3 games I'm talking about today. This is a Reiner Knizia design, 2 to 5 players, takes around 30 minutes to play, maybe a bit faster if you have that lower player count there. But this is, of course, a dice rolling game where you have these 7 dice here. One of the faces, which would normally be the 6, has this kind of circular fingerprint design, which can change, or the meaning of it can change depending on the particular scenario. So what you're trying to do is that you are trying to get as many points as you can for the round based on a certain objective. So during setup, you're going to draw 7 cards out of this larger deck, which is going to show a current challenge. And then in player order, you are trying to abide by that challenge. So this one says that I want to create runs of dice from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the circle design there, meaning it will be 10. And I'm going to get points accordingly for each run of that I complete. But anything not in that run is not going to score. Now this thing here is going to show how many rerolls I have. So I could roll these, try to create a run. So I've got a 1 there, I've got a 2, I've got a 3, I've got a 4, I've got a 5. This is actually a pretty good one. I've got a 6. And so on. So I probably wouldn't want to re-roll that one, but maybe I'll do the other 3 rolls just to see if I can get a 1 there and try to get that final point there. Oh, I did do it. There you go. So I've got a maximum point complement there. That's going to be 10, 15, 19, 22, 24, 25, 26 points. Therefore, I'd put my marker on the 26 point mark like so, and everybody else is going to try and follow suit and beat my score, although that's going to be pretty much impossible in this scenario. But if you do, I think if you match with somebody else, you actually end up beating them to the punch. And that's essentially how the game goes on. If you have the highest score out of everybody, then you're going to get a 3 points token. Second place is going to get 2 points, and third place is going to get 1 point. The other scenarios look like this, where you're rolling dice. Only your 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s will score, but everything that's not a 4, 3, 2, or 1 will actually score you negative 5 points because, of course, only those numbers are scoring, and you get 3 rerolls. There's ones that look like this, where you are simply just trying to roll the big cluster of dice. You get 4 rerolls, but you have to roll all 7 of the dice each time, and the fingerprints are going to be worth 0, and you're just trying to get as high a score as possible. This one here, where only 5 3s, 1s are going to score, but you have to re-roll all 7, etc. So you can see what you're trying to do here. It is pure luck, but it's about pushing your luck and trying to know when to stop. And when you know that other people have been before you, and you have to kind of challenge yourself thinking, you know what, I want to break into that top 3. I'm going to go again, again, and again. And, it's more difficult because if you actually win the previous round, I believe you lead the next round, meaning you have to kind of get a feel for what other people are going to go for and know when to stop, because it's a lot easier if you know what other people have already got and got locked in as compared to, just completely going on a gut reaction, I suppose. But this is the kind of game that I like to conclude a games night on. After playing something like a heavy Euro, this is just a perfect little contrast of that, just a cooling down one to finish the game tonight off on a good note. It can get really fun. You can end up having these great rolls like I just did then. Sometimes it'll be disastrous, but I do like that constant back and forth, and it's just a switch your brain off and enjoy. And I do like to have these kind of games in my collection. So it's a game that definitely is what it is. You're not going to get any strategic or even or many decisions at all in this game, but sometimes that's fine if you just want to sit back, relax, and have some fun. So that is High Score. Next up, we have Hex Roller. Now, this is a traditional roll and write style game. The box says it takes 15 to 20 minutes to play, which I do agree with. And this one accommodates 1 to 8 players, although there's no reason why you couldn't play with more than that because it is multiplayer solitaire. So essentially, you're going to have a sheet that looks like this. Now, there is an expansion map out as well, which adds some slight tweaks to the game, which I actually prefer. And you can get this for dirt cheap if you actually do like the game. What you're going to do in this game, as with all roll and write games, you're going to roll this big cluster. You're going to put them in their numbered groups like so. And after that, you are going to choose 2 piles of numbers to draft from. So I could draft all these 4s and then maybe, there's another 4 there. I could draft all these 4s and then maybe I could draft the 6 or any kind of combination of those. And what I'm trying to do is that when I draft these numbers, I'm going to write that same amount of numbers onto my player sheet with the idea of trying to complete these different colored segments of numbers. Now, it doesn't matter if they've got different numbers on there because only the highest number type or the most numerous number type is going to score if that particular section is completed. So if I had all these 6 additional segments completed on this 7 section here, then I'm going to score that many points depending on how, what the newest numerous number is. Also, you're trying to chain these same numbers together. So if I had a continuous chain of 7s connecting these together, I'm going to get 7 points. And that applies to all the different numbers as well. And additionally, you are trying to build up runs of numbers. So if I drafted, say, the 3s, I would have to write a 3 here, and then 4s, and then 5s, and 6s, and so on. And then you're going to score your best for each of the 2 different tones there. So if you keep on drafting the higher numbers, then you're not going to create that chain because you always start from lowest going to highest. Now, 3 times during the game, you get to use these little bonus powers as well, such as having a pool of dice amplified by 1. So that would count as, say, 6 4s instead of the 4 4s. You can write a dummy 2 into the box, which is just used to kind of fill up spaces so you're not wasting, you're not missing out on an opportunity if there's only 1 hex left. And this one here where you can actually draft 3 from the pool instead of the normal 2 different numbers of dice there. Now the expansion map is almost identical, however you have this factor here, which I actually prefer because for each time you draft a dice, you are going to tick off that particular segment. And again, you're trying to climb these chains with no breakages and get that many points at the end added to your score. Now, this is a throwback roll and write style game, a time when roll and writes didn't really have all the bells and whistles as they do now. They kept it simple, they kept it straightforward, but they kept it thinky. And I think this game is one that offers a good degree of decisions, and sometimes you'll mull over your mistakes you make, all within a 15 to 20 minute game, which I think is pretty damn spectacular. So I do like this one. It has a certain charm to it. Again, it doesn't try to be anything it's not, anything that it's not, I suppose. It doesn't have tons of sheets and things to decide over, but it still has some cool decisions to be made there. So if you want a nice little simple roll and write game, I do recommend this one. It's probably one of my favorite ones actually, because again, it's one you can get to the table quickly without too much brain burn, but still it's not a brain dead game either. So that is Hex Roller. It's a good one. And the final game I'm talking about today is Flea Market by Leo Colovini. This accommodates 3 to 5 players and takes around 30 minutes to play. The board is going to look like this, where you're going to have these tokens numbered from 3 up to 18, as in all the possible variations of 3 dice being rolled there, and they're going to be randomly distributed on this track. Now, the objective of this game is to be the first player to get to 45 coins or money, whatever it is. Now, be warned, if this game does appeal to you, and you want to pick up a copy, the game comes with really terrible money that you're going to have to replace, because this stuff is barely playable, to be honest, because you can hardly see the different denominations on there. But what you're going to do in this game is that the starting player is going to roll this trio of dice, and depending on what's rolled there, so we've got 6, we've got 10, we've got 15, that number, you're going to find it on the track and you're going to put it up for auction like so. And then every player is going to roll their pair of dice like so. And then starting from the player who rolled the highest, as in this player here, who rolled an 8, they are going to have first refusal on this item. So if they wanted to buy it, they are going to pay what they've rolled, in this example, 8 coins. And if they don't want it, they're going to pass, and it's going to go to the next player who's rolled the most. If there's a tie, like there is here, it's going to fall to player order. If everybody passes, it's going to go back to the auctioneer for free. Now, the idea is you are trying to collect these items because in future turns, if that item is rolled again, so let's say I rolled a 15 again just per chance, then that item is going to go back up for auction, but that player is also going to, or as in the owning player, is also going to get a number of coins equal to how many of these items have been exposed. So the longer the game goes on, the more money you get by that item coming up again from auction. Additionally, if you are to purchase this item that another player did own, then the money goes to them. So it has this little player-driven economy where money is always passing around. Now, obviously, because you are rolling 3 dice here, then some denominations are going to be much more common than others. Like, for example, I think the 10 is going to get rolled quite often just through the pure probability of the numbers there. So therefore, you're probably going to spend more money to acquire that particular item, even though you are completely at the discretion or at the mercy of the dice rolls here. So I do like that, and I like the chance that you can really snag an item for a complete bargain should you roll a low number, but everybody else does as well, though they roll lower than you, so you get first refusal for that. Yes, there is a lot of a luck factor in this game, but I think it actually works in favour of the game because it's about, how much am I willing to pay here? And sometimes there'll be an item that's, right on the extremities of the rolls here, like, the 17 or the 18 or something. Nobody's really going to want to pay it. You end up taking a punt on it, and it ends up getting rolled time and time again, and it keeps on giving you those bigger and bigger payouts as you go. And I like the fact that if nobody bids on the item, then it comes back to you, and if it gets rolled again, you're going to get that money again. So yeah, I really like this one. It's a good tense race until you get to that 45 mark. And you've got to be very careful about how much money you're giving to others. Now, I think generally the feedback on like Board Game Geek and stuff like that of this game is not good at all. It's generally negative, and I'm surprised because I think this game does what it does very well. I think it's very charming, and I've enjoyed every single play of it. You have to be prepared that you are at the mercy of what's going to come up. You could end up buying the 10 items, spending a fortune on it, and it's never rolled again. But that's all part of the fun for me. So if you want a quirky little filler game, one that I think is criminally underrated, and it's just fun, it's good, charming, simple fun, and you can have some pretty funny moments and exciting moments if something works in your favour. So yeah, that is Flea Market. I really recommend this one. It's very good. So there we have it. Those are my thoughts on 3 simple but fun little dice games there. Who said that the chairman is all about those big, heavy, dry euros? Sometimes I'm just in the mood to play something like this. And hopefully you've enjoyed the video and it's given a bit of spotlight on these games that aren't talked about so often. If you have enjoyed the video and enjoy my content in general, then please be sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my other content too. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye-bye.